is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-host, Carrie.
What's up?
Just the two of us this week. Micah is off.
Micah's just trying to dodge me because he knows I'm going to rip him a new one for not actually unlocking the extra content in Persona 5 Royal.
That's still very funny to me. I still find it somewhat inexplicable that a major chapter of the story can be missed,
like an additional 25 to 30 hours worth of content.
Yeah,
and it's not like the game doesn't tell you over and over and over again that you have to go talk to this guy.
Well, they do, but do they tell you why it's important?
No, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's fairly obvious. It's like, okay, cool. I'm playing this game that I know has a third semester and there's two new characters and the game keeps telling me to talk to one of them. Maybe I should go talk to him. Nope, didn't do it. Missed out on the content.
That's very amazing that happened. You finished Monster Hunter Stories, did you not? Since we last
I finished together? The main story of Monster Hunter Stories 2. And yeah, I thought that game was absolutely delightful. I feel like you can get into it even if you're not like a huge fan of the mainline Monster Hunter games, because it doesn't play anything like the mainline Monster Hunter games. So I'm in post game now, which has all the high rank content and a bunch of extra monsters that you haven't seen yet. There's like a dozen more monsters that unlock after you beat the main story. They've also done the first bit of DLC, so they've added 3 new monsters, including the one of my favorite Elder Dragons, which is Kulve Taroth, who is otherwise only available as sort of like a siege battle in Monster Hunter World. So it I imagine plays a little bit like that. I haven't tried the KT challenge yet, but that's meant to be like a co-op thing. So if anyone wants to do KT with me in Stories, let me know, because my husband's playing the game on PC and I am playing on Switch, so we cannot actually co-op together.
Seems like a huge oversight on his part.
Yeah, because he has a Switch. This being said, it looks a lot better on Steam than it does on Switch.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I'm continuing to buy games that I'm interested in when they go on deep discounts.
Okay.
Darkest Dungeon is one of those games. It was like $8 for the Ancestral Edition or whatever it was called on PlayStation. So I finally got this. This had been recommended to me for a while. It's advertised as a roguelike, but it's more of a dungeon delving game, I would say. But it's interesting because there's some nifty mechanics that go along with it. The basic premise is you play the prodigal son that returns home after your father dies, and you like your family owns this manor that's like cursed. There's like it's like a gothic horror themed game with some very Lovecraftian overtones.
So my husband's played a good bit of it, so like I've seen a bit of it, and it's one of these games where I'm like, that's not for me.
Not a scary game though, it's just weird. It's a weird looking game. But yeah, basically you play, it's a tactical turn-based RPG of sorts. You always go into these dungeons with a party of 4. There's I think like 10 or 11 different classes of characters that you can recruit in the game that all come with different abilities and things of that nature. But what's interesting is that how you have your characters lined up matters, because like you walk along the dungeon in a straight line essentially on a 2D plane, and when you encounter enemies, they are lined up in the same fashion, but each character has certain abilities that they can only use if they're in certain positions in your party's lineup, and they can only target certain enemies on the other side of the row, which then adds a layer of complication, because when enemies die, like their corpses stay behind. So if you want to clear them out so that you can move them up so you can attack them a little bit easier, you have to actually like attack the dead body essentially to get it out of the way. And then because it's a Lovecraft themed game of sorts, as you explore the dungeon, you have to worry about like the light levels in the dungeon. So the more you explore, the darker it gets, hence the name. The darker it gets, the stronger the enemies become. Whereas if you can keep the lights on, your heroes have special abilities, and you do this by exhausting torches that you can bring into the dungeon with you.
It's all about managing their sanity.
It really is, because as you go, as enemies attack you and as you encounter things in the dungeon, your characters will gain madness, and if they gain a certain level, then they will get a condition of some kind that will impair them, and then they can really get fucked up if you let them happen again. But then when you turn back to town, like, you could chill them out by sending them to the bar to get wasted, or to the brothel to get laid, or to the church to pray. Like there's all sorts of things you can do to kind of ease their stress levels down. What's interesting about the game, so before you venture out into the dungeon, every time you go to like the haberdashery that's in town and stock up on supplies that you need to take with you, like medicine or potions or torches or things of that nature. What's cool though is that the game really only encourages you to take what you're going to use, because at the end of each quest, everything gets sold back to the merchant, and for the stuff that you buy from them, it gets sold back at like a 20% discount. It's like you're trading a game into GameStop, basically. Like, you're getting 20% what you paid for it. So you're not, like, if you buy too much, like if you overstock yourself and you buy a bunch of shit that you don't need, you're just kind of throwing money down the drain. So there's a lot of optimization in the game. It's very fun. I was scared off by the game for a while because I heard it was like insanely difficult. I think this is one of those games where you have to just acknowledge the fact that you're going to lose party members, kind of like XCOM. Like, it's kind of like a gothic XCOM in some ways. Like, you don't want to get very attached to anyone in your party. I assume that once you level somebody up to an incredibly high level and then they get killed, like, that'll be super devastating when you lose like one of your awesome guys, which I haven't gotten to that point yet. But the game is fun. It also has cross save functionality. So if I ever do get it on Switch, because this would be a great game to play on Switch, then I should be able to transfer my data over. So it's good. Like I said, if you've seen this game, if you're interested in it, it's like $8. Great price for $8 on the PS4.
Sure.
Can't beat that. And it's a nifty game. I also bought Wargroove. I haven't played a ton of Wargroove yet. But I
hear Wargroove is super fun.
It is Advanced Wars.
Yeah, that's basically what
I mean, it essentially is like the Nintendo showed the new Advanced War trailer that's coming out this fall. I'm actually kind of interested in getting it, but I kind of wanted to play that now. So it's like, Wargroove's $10. Let's just buy Wargroove.
Yeah,
it's fine. Like I said,
everything I heard was that Wargroove was sort of meant to be a spiritual successor to Advance Wars, because they hadn't put out a new Advance Wars game in like 10 years, and then Nintendo was like, all right, fuck faces, here's a new Advance Wars. It's the old Advance Wars, just looks better.
New games coming out this week. I Am Dead, PlayStation, Xbox. Black Book to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Button City to PlayStation 5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Godfall's coming to PS4 and getting an expansion this week, apparently. I
forgot about that game.
So did the rest of society. Lawn Mowing Simulators coming to Xbox and PC. Glitchpunk comes to PC. Icarus to PC. Seed of Life PC. Art of Rally, Xbox and Switch. I'm dying to know if that's like a Neo Geo off-road racing game of some kind. Foreclosed comes to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, Stadia, and PC. This is like a first-person or third-person narrative cyberpunk adventure. Looks nifty. Naraka Blade Point comes to PC. Hades comes to every console that it's not currently released on, basically. And then Paw Patrol, the movie Adventure City Calls, comes to PlayStation and Xbox and Switch.
Cool. You can discuss these games and anything else you want to talk about as far as
Paw Patrol, right?
Look, if you want to come talk about Paw Patrol with us, you better come to our Discord, because it is live not just for Dense Pixels, but for the other TNP shows of note. So you head to densepixels.com/fans to get the link to the Discord. You can also, if you're listening to this, you can also watch us and see the beautiful shining faces of me and Brad on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/densepixels, where we post video versions of every episode, and sometimes we post gaming clips, but not often. But you can at least find us there. And don't forget to subscribe to all of the TNP Studios podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. So that includes the Nerdpocalypse podcast, Black on Black Cinema, Coming Distractions, which I think had 2 new episodes of Coming Distractions hit the feed this week, as well as the weekly preview episode of Look Forward. And then for just $5 a month or $50 a year, you can get premium content at densepixels.com/premium. So that gives you access to all the premium podcasts, like the airing of grievances, which I assume will eventually reach its conclusion. No Time to Bleed, The Men with the Golden Tongues, my podcast, Upstage Conversation, which I have meant to record a new episode for the last 2 months, and Jay keeps dodging me. So I'm going to have to find someone else to record Upstage Conversation with, because he's not answering my calls anymore. You also get full episodes of the Look Forward Political Podcast. So do that.
Jay's listening to this podcast again. Apparently, he wasn't for a little while. So, like I said, I can't wait to hear comments from him because we're dog him constantly on the show, of course. So
yeah, because he's always dodging me.
So I find it useful when you have like news that comes into the sphere that's just like really irritating. Sometimes it's best just to pull the Band-Aid off and just to kind of get it over with and just get it out there. So Carrie, you have the floor. Idris Elba is apparently playing Knuckles. And we can talk about that.
We can talk about it. This was announced like an hour ago from us recording. Yeah, Idris Elba is the voice of Knuckles in the Sonic movie sequel. And the internet imploded upon itself very quickly when this news was announced. So I think that's an interesting choice for Knuckles. I don't even know what else to say. Like, I'm looking forward to it. Knuckles is my favorite Sonic character, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Idris Elba's voice sounds going out of his mouth. But at the same time, I'm almost a little disappointed that they haven't opted to go with the folks who have voiced the character in the video games for as long as they have.
That doesn't sell movie tickets.
I know it doesn't, but it's I don't know, because they used the voice of Tails from the video games for the Tails cameo at the end of the first movie. So I was like, oh, maybe they'll use Travis Willingham or Dave Mitchell or any of these other guys who have like done the character before in the video games. Or Willingham even did like all the cartoons that came out recently too. So I don't know. I understand wanting star power, but I feel like on a level it is inherently disrespectful to people who are voice actors by trade to be replaced with Hollywood actors for.
So what you're telling me is that this is your Kiefer Sutherland is Solid Snake moment, basically.
A little bit, yeah, right? I'll say that. Sure. Like,
crazy.
I feel like Travis Willingham probably would not have cost nearly as much as Idris Elba to voice this character.
I can't imagine Idris Elba's like crazy expensive for like 3 days worth of work, is he? It can't be that bad.
Who knows? Because I know if I recall correctly, they also did like motion tracking on the faces while in the studio to match animation to and stuff like that, and to get sort of a better feel on the personalities of the actors. So I don't really know how much work goes into this. I genuinely don't. I have to imagine it's more than just 3 days in a voice studio.
There is so that was a fun bit of news to step in front of the news that we actually far more important in the gaming sphere this week. More Activision stuff, as again, like I mentioned last week, this story is not going to stop. Apparently shareholders still pissed, according to a letter that was released from an investment group called SOC. They're saying that what Activision and Blizzard is pledging on doing to improve its culture does not, quote, go nearly far enough to address the deep and widespread issues with equity, inclusion, and human capital management going on inside the company. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Coca-Cola and Kellogg's also pulled out their sponsorship deals, much like T-Mobile did last week from the Overwatch League.
Yeah, this is going to be like, this is the kind of thing that will force change at a company like this.
much quicker than employees protesting, which
unfortunately
sad indictment of our society, but is also the reality of the situation. And then again, as if their very bad week did not need to get any worse. On Friday last week,
Schreier's here.
He's here. We told you he was coming. The headline for this story really is the best summation of probably why this happened, better than anyone ever could. And the headline for the story that Jason Schreier wrote is Blizzard turned game developers into rock stars. Misbehavior followed. I mean, that's it, right? Like when you give people these like cult of personality statuses, like when you're fawning over them and kind of worshiping at their altar, as many Blizzard fans did for a very long time and still kind of do.
Some of them do.
Yeah, to this day.
Yeah.
You kind of, and I'm not blaming the fans for this also, by the way, but this is just kind of what goes part and parcel that when you give people that aura of untouchability, like this is the kind of shit that happens, right? Because then you start getting bold because you think you're bulletproof,
right? In
a lot of regards. A lot of the anecdotes, so like Schreier obviously reached out to a lot of folks, or they reached out to him and got a ton of quotes around the story. The one that made the most rounds probably was when Ben Kilgore, who was the chief technology officer and was considered like the heir apparent to Mike Morhaime while he was still there, left the company. And basically staff was like, why did this guy leave the company? And the technology department head that took over for him in a briefing to his employees was basically like, let me give you some advice. Don't sleep with your assistant, but if you're going to sleep with your assistant, don't stop.
Yeah, fucking
like
yikes.
That's pretty incredible. There's anecdotes in here about a former employee who says that she was groped multiple times at company events. An anecdote that female employees were well aware to stay away from the hotel bar in the Hilton Anaheim, a bar that I've drank at several times, funnily enough, because that's where it's known that all of the Blizzard executives were going to be hanging out and basically inviting people, groupies, as it were, like upstairs to their room and things of that nature. This is really fucking gross. And again, like you see this kind of stuff come out, it really makes it galling that Activision's initial response to that lawsuit being dropped was just like, this is bullshit. This is government overreach. Like, this is crazy. Like you have to know, like the dirty laundry is coming. Like these cases don't get brought up and made up out of whole cloth. Like there's always something backing them. And especially once you give the press, once you point them in the right direction, like once you give them that scent, they're gonna dig this shit up. Like especially a dude like Jason Schreier, who we talked about many times, the only real journalist in the video game industry.
Yeah, one of very few. Yeah. I mean, and he's the best at it, right? Like he is absolutely the best at doing this stuff. Yeah, I mean, just that this was, you know, the even the little things of like women, you know, on their first day of the job being having to deal with like receiving lines of men all lining up and stuff like this, you know, going back to like 2003. Like this is not something that started when this investigation began. This is stuff that built up over the course of largely the last 20 years at this company. This is not, I mean, it almost goes to show that this is really a Blizzard problem more so than it is an Activision problem. Yeah. Activision has done terribly in how they've handled this lawsuit. But the culture is a Blizzard problem, bar none.
Well, and like you said, they did definitely try to kind of squirrel everybody today. They announced that the Diablo 2 closed and open beta is going to be this weekend and next respectively, but I don't see that taking a lot of shine off of the constant out, like the stories and stuff like that have been churning.
No. Yeah, I mean, no, it didn't surprise me that they were like, oh, like 2 weeks have gone by and it's been a few days since Schreier dropped his story. Here's a shiny thing. You remember Diablo 2? You love Diablo 2. You want to play Diablo 2 again? Like,
I mean I do.
Right, like there's a part of me that certainly does, but I'm not going to. I have many fond memories of Diablo 2. I'm not playing that game.
No, it's and even just like, you know, Blizzard even had like the run of the mill female employee problems, like a female, you know, a gender wage gap essentially that exists in the company, and things like they're not even separate and apart from those things, and then you have all this other stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
So the story's on Bloomberg. It is quite a read. Highly recommend you do it. It really does kind of set some of those allegations in very blunt forms, even more blunt than what we've seen so far. So I think it's important to kind of hear those stories and to see them out there. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, it's the news mill continues churning with this. I don't think it's going to stop. And as we've also been saying for the last couple of weeks, everybody else who has this shit going on in their companies, it is time to get your house in order, and fast, because this past week, turns out Steve Gaynor, the head of Fulbright Studios, the co-founder of Fulbright Studios, has decided to step down in his role as the creative lead from the studio, following multiple allegations of mistreating Fulbright employees, particularly women. Now, fortunately, if there is a silver lining to this story, there doesn't appear to be any allegations of like sexual misconduct.
No, this guy's just an asshole.
Like, he's just a shit boss.
He's just an asshole and a terrible person to work for. So Steve Gaynor, the co-founder of Fulbright, known for the games Gone Home and Tacoma. So Gaynor stepped down basically after his entire staff was like, hey, can you fuck off? Like that. Apparently women, and this is a story out of Polygon that reported this and did a good job. They talked to like a dozen female employees, current and former, I think. And so women in leadership positions at Fulbright told Polygon that they experienced constant micromanagement that made it difficult for them to do their jobs, having to get even the smallest details approved by Gaynor. This was compounded, they said, by his tendency to disparage and discredit the contributions of female staffers in particular, often directly to other members of leadership. Some of the female staffers said that they often worried about how he characterized them to other employees. With one employee saying, "This is going to sound like a joke, but I'm completely serious. Working for him often felt like working for a high school mean girl. His go-to weapon was to laugh at people's opinions and embarrass them in front of other people." With several other employees corroborating this characterization. The problem at Fulbright is that this is a little indie studio. This is like less than 24 people.
Yeah.
So the issue is that the employees there really had no means of escalating their concerns about his behavior because the company didn't have a dedicated HR person.
It was basically deal with it or go somewhere else. Like that was kind of the way it was. This tells me, so like, I'm glad that it ended up kind of this way, because and it's funny because it just goes to show you, like, you never do know sometimes, because like Gaynor's a guy that I hear talked about like in the games media part of the industry glowingly, like there's a lot of people that are very fond of him. So you never quite know who somebody is behind closed doors sometimes. This just tells me that more people out there need to do a better job about being honest with themselves and what they're good at, and bringing in people to manage the things that they're not good at. Because look, there's some people that in this world that just are not cut out to lead people. That's just the way it is. Steve Gaynor from this story seems like he's someone that should not have been in a leadership role. at the company. Like creatively fantastic. Like you want to be a creative guy, you want to write, you want to pitch ideas, that's great. Being the decision maker, being the guy who, you know, you come to roll things up to, doesn't seem like a role that suits him very well.
No.
If this is how he treats people. So again, I was relieved that this wasn't anything to do with any sexual allegations. But
like also fuck that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like... it sucks for being an asshole is like a shitty quality about somebody. I'm not gonna like ostracize someone from the industry for being a dick. You know what I mean?
Like, and it's like I hope this is a wake-up call for him, and I'm glad he's not in that position anymore. But it kind of sucks that everyone had to go to basically Annapurna Interactive, who publishes Fulbright's games, and say shit like, this is the worst professional experience I've ever had in my life, for them to kind of be like, maybe something's wrong at Fulbright. Like,
no, I agree with that. But yeah, like I said, I hope that, I do hope he's not given the level of scorn that should be reserved for like the dudes at Blizzard, for example, because it's not quite the same situation. But again, maybe just don't be the head of a studio if you can't deal with people.
Yeah,
people well.
I hope he teach this is a teachable moment for him. And
I mean, he put out a statement alleging as such. Well, I mean, obviously we'll see. Like, you know, everyone puts out that statement. We'll see.
Right. Everyone has a PR rep write something for them. I mean, I think the sort of last thing in this article that Polygon put out says a lot, where it's just like one former employee saying, it turns my stomach to think that he still gets to write these games about women's stories when this is how he treats them in real life, with presumably no sign of stopping. I want women in the industry and this studio to feel valued. I want vulnerable young women who are new to the industry to be supported, not preyed upon. I want women to not have to fear retaliation from a powerful auteur figure for speaking up. I want women to know that this is not normal. More than anything, I just want him to stop. He shouldn't be allowed to keep getting away with this.
Yeah.
So hopefully him stepping down from this leadership position is the first step of many of him reconciling with his record of bad behavior. And hopefully he gets better. Hopefully he makes amends with the people who he so clearly hurt over the years. But also at the same time, if I'm being perfectly honest, it wouldn't fucking surprise me if in another year it comes out that he's just right back to his bullshit.
Sure. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me either. But then at that point, I would hope that the publisher would you know,
pull the plug,
take a stance at that point. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully without shuttering the company either, because again, they put out, you know, Gone Home and Tacoma are not games that I've played, but they're very critically adored and people seem to like them a lot. So they're doing good work. Just don't be a dick. I did not realize that. Well, actually, I should have realized this because YouTube kind of does the same thing. So the story here, Twitch is finally going to let streamers know why they're getting banned.
Yeah. I didn't know that they didn't do that.
Yeah, YouTube's the same way though, honestly. Like a lot of times when I've heard it from even like large YouTubers, like they'll get videos pulled down and they'll be like, why did this get pulled down? And they won't be given like a straight answer. Like, oh, you violated, you know, this code of conduct thing or this, that, or the other thing, but they don't really go into specifics. And in YouTube's case, and I'd imagine this is probably similar on Twitch, a lot of it's stuff that just gets caught in the algorithm incorrectly. You know what I mean? Like things of that nature, because these are big, giant companies. They don't have the bandwidth to personally get actual eyes on every single instance. Like you have an algorithm to kind of skim the content to catch stuff up in a wide net, and then you parse through those individual things, you know, on a case-by-case basis, essentially. So it's how it's supposed to work. But I guess now Twitch is going to dig in a little bit more, which, you know, a lot of Twitch streamers have bitched about getting, you know, their channel taken down for no reason at all.
Right. So. Where it's like they'll ban someone, then unban them, and then reban them and whatnot. So it's like, hopefully this helps people who stream on a regular basis understand what went wrong, if anything does go wrong. I just feel like this should be basic, right? It's like, if you're going to ban someone's account, like, please at least give a reason. Like,
yeah.
Baseline. So.
Well, and even then, like, they're still not going super crazy. Like it's still very generic. Like they at least tell you like, here's the video, here's the date that it was produced, and then here's this very vague, you know, reason that this is happening. So there's still, I feel like there's still going to be a lot of room for ambiguity in the process. I also like that I went to the tweet that Twitch support put out, and like the first reply that's underneath of it is, why did Dr. Disrespect get banned? Like, we know why Dr. Disrespect got banned. Like, he literally violated the terms of service by breaking the law.
Yes. He took a camera into a bathroom, which is against the law. That's a level above. Like, it doesn't matter if any terms and conditions were broken or not. If you're like doing something explicitly illegal, which I'm sure is covered under the terms and conditions regardless, you're going to get banned from the platform.
Very much so.
Wild.
Nintendo has an indie presentation tomorrow as we're recording this. Microsoft had one today. I haven't gotten to watch it yet. I wonder though if Nintendo is going to talk about this next story, because Carrie was like if I'd showed, like, you put the story on the docket, I wish that I had gotten to, and I wish you didn't know about it, because I would have titled it exactly the same thing that you did. Yeah. And that would have been a hilarious potential reaction to you opening the story live on air.
No, I know what's going on.
Yeah, the title is, a classic Camelot RPG is being revived. Mm-hmm. To which I say, no, not that one.
No, not that one. Not that one. No, they're doing a Shining Force game, sort of.
Kind of.
Yeah, they're doing a mobile Shining Force game. It's called Shining Force: Heroes of Light and Darkness, a new free-to-play entry in the currently Sega-owned RPG game. If you didn't know, Camelot developed Shining Force as well as Shining in the Darkness. They've actually got a pretty deep RPG history. But yep. It's a mobile game, so people are pretty about it.
I mean, we'll see. Like, if it's anywhere decent to like the Fire Emblem mobile game, which apparently is all right for a mobile game, I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, Shining Force. A lot of folks. I didn't know there was a big clamor for another Shining Force game.
I don't think there was.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I guess there's as many as there would be for like a Golden Sun re-release.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because they've rather consistently put out other games in the Shining franchise, such as Shining Arc, Shining Wind, Shining Force Exa. Like there's a lot. There's been a lot. Most of these have not been developed by Camelot, but yeah,
cool.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the news this week. Like I said, it was mostly Activision centric, so
yep, pretty light news week. So
yeah, we'll take it.
Cool. Well, if you want to buy one of the 24 Shining games that you didn't hear of until just now, you can do that by going to densepixels.com/Amazon and I don't know, hopefully send Jeff Bezos to space permanently this time.
Yeah. Let's fingers crossed. I mean, that's really what we all should be striving to do at this point, is just to get Jeff Bezos in space forever.
Yeah, just leave him out there.
Yes.
But yeah, you shop as normal at densepixels.com/Amazon, and we did just they skim just a teeny little bit off the top for us.
But it's so important for us. It's so helpful.
It is
for the Dense Pixels crew and for the TNP Studios crew more so. So yeah, make sure you're using a link whenever you shop on Amazon, because we know you are. So
we know you like. We know you might like feel bad about shopping on Amazon, but like you're probably still shopping on Amazon.
Yeah, and this way you can feel like 4% less bad.
Yeah,
like it's quantifiable how much less bad you can feel about.
Exactly. Exactly 4% less bad for shopping on Amazon, because you know it's helping us.
Absolutely. So post office, we'll start with Carl. What video game sound, and I guess really he means sound effect, has stuck with you over the years? His personal favorite is the Nemesis call from Resident Evil 3, the stars, as he's chasing you around. The honorable mentions that he mentioned are probably honestly like the two best ones, really.
Yeah.
Like the Metal Gear Solid exclamation point when you're spotted, and the Sega splash at the beginning of every Sega.
Yeah.
It really is like the Metal Gear one, like that, it's a good video game sound effect when it was like your text tone or like your ringtone.
Oh yeah, but also like where it's something, at least for Metal Gear Solid, the exclamation point, like it's a noise that's less than a second long and it immediately triggers panic half the time.
and just like I said, hyper iconic. Like I can't tell you when I did use it for like my text message ringtone, like how many people acknowledged it essentially around me just in public in general. Like, so that's back when I didn't just have my phone on silent all the time, because who the hell doesn't have their phone on silent? You're a monster.
Yeah, I haven't had like a ringtone on in probably 8 years at this point, if not longer. I think for me it's like Kefka's laugh.
Yeah,
that's an all-timer. And the original Pikachu noise from like the first generation. I don't like that they've changed it to like the actual to Ikue Otani, like the anime Pikachu noise where it actually says Pikachu now. I want like the electric,
like the super digital one.
I like the digital noise of Pikachu. Yeah.
A couple more for me. The original PlayStation boot up sound.
Yeah. Yes.
Like that's honest. It's the best. It's still the best one of all of them.
And the GameCube one. The GameCube one's up there.
See,
those, it's long, but I like it.
I know. I feel like those two venture more into like music more than sound effects, but the PlayStation one still sounds more sound effecty. Like the GameCube one is a legitimate melody.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the PlayStation one is just like a Hans Zimmer-esque. like what's about to be happening. Weirdly, like my favorite Mario sound is the sound like that makes when you like mount Yoshi's saddle, essentially, like the that's that one I'm always partial to. I'm trying to think of any
there's something about collecting rings in Sonic that's like the Sonic ring noise is always
the collection really noise or when you get hit and they spill out all over
the collection noise. There's nothing satisfying about losing all your rings.
So yeah, and not surprisingly, most of these come from like the 32-bit era and earlier.
Right.
That's kind of how things go. Rev asks, what's a racing franchise that scares you because of its hyper realism, but you can't say Gran Turismo or Forza? Here's the funny thing. So in terms
Mario Kart.
Here's the funny thing about this question. So in learning more about sim racing and the crash course that I've taken in the subject over the last month or so, Gran Turismo and Forza are actually on the more accessible end of simulation racing games. Like the pool is very deep, much deeper than people that aren't in the genre realize. The answer to this question, what's the scariest hyper realistic like racing game, is iRacing. iRacing, without a doubt, is the most frightening thing if you're not like into sim racing, because that is about as simulation as you can fucking get in a racing game. Like it is so simmy, it's not even funny. It's such a the game is so like robust in terms of what it provides that you literally have to pay. It's like an MMO. Like you have to pay monthly in order to play it.
Okay.
Like you have to buy
that's a lot.
Yeah, you have to buy a subscription to iRacing to play iRacing, and you still have to buy like cars and tracks separate and apart from that.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
I don't play sim racing games, man. I play Mario Kart. I play Mario Kart. That's about it. Crash Team Racing. Jet Moto is the only other racing game that I could even summon to my brain right now that I have played and enjoyed.
Yeah.
What was the last time they made a Jet Moto game?
It's been a long time since they made a Jet Moto. It's been a long time since they made a even semi-mainstream.
1999 was the last time they made a Jet Moto.
It's been like a while since they made a quasi-mainstream like wave racing game in general.
Give me a high def Jet Moto remake. Sega. Whoever. Sony. Yeah, that's what I want. I want a new Jet Moto game. I know that wasn't the question, but I've decided that's how I'm going to answer it.
But yeah, like I said, check out iRacing. Check out what's the Automobilista 2 is another one that's on. Apparently, like all the best sim games are on PC. Like that's where all the sim nerds play their racing games on PC. Not surprising.
All the best games are on PC, Brad.
Apparently, that's
glad you're finally catching up.
So, Cam asked the dumber current wrestling conspiracy theory that Vince McMahon secretly owns AEW, or that WWE released Bray Wyatt but not the Fiend, so the Fiend could still show up at SummerSlam. Those are two theories that are apparently out there in the wild.
I have no context for either of these.
That's fine. Vince McMahon owning AEW secretly is obviously the dumber of the two theories, considering who owns AEW is like a matter of public record. Like it's not like there's dark money behind AEW. Like their financials are somewhat available. Like it's definitely we know it's Tony Khan. It's not hard to figure this out. The funny thing about Bray Wyatt is that they released him a couple weeks ago. He might be back soon because they did the same thing with like Samoa Joe. Like WWE is in a cost cutting mode right now, and I think that they dumped a few contracts that were just weighing on them heavily, and they could bring back Bray Wyatt for a lower ticket, which might still be more, like considerably more than he would get from any other company that's out there right now. So that's always a possibility. But we'll see. They're both incredibly stupid conspiracy theories, though, I would say.
Yeah.
Mark asks, what do you think is the most accessible game in terms of for people with disabilities? What kinds of things do you think would make a game truly accessible to at least one part of an audience? I keep thinking like a game for blind people where nothing is visual and use the rumble feature plus surround sound, but that might be dumb because then I guess it's not a video game.
I don't think it's dumb. I think it's tough. I mean, I think at large, I can't point to like a single game to you. I genuinely can't. I know Last of Us and Last of Us 2, I think more specifically, had a lot of accessibility options. I think there are a lot of games coming out now that have good accessibility options like colorblind mode and different types of colorblind mode and stuff like that, so that you can still play the game and enjoy the story, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think every game should allow you to remap the controls.
Yes, I mean that's a big one.
Period.
We're seeing a lot of this more often nowadays because there's a lot more groups out there like Easy Allies and folks like that call attention to this stuff, and so it's front of mind for a lot more game developers. So, and you have to remember, like there is a lot of different disabilities that you can cater for. So, like if someone's blind, for example, you can be legally blind and still see. Like legal blindness is just a threshold of vision that you like that's below a certain point. So like people that are legally blind can still play video games. They just need options that like let the subtitles get, blown up to like high degrees or things of that, or have like a speak back mode of things of that nature. Like, so you're seeing that in games a lot more. What Carrie said is bang on. Like really every game, or at least every game platform, needs to allow control remapping so that like disability friendly controllers like the Microsoft accessibility controller that they came out with can be used by people so that they can map the controls however they need to play the game. And again, it's something that you're seeing more and more. So like there is no real answer to what's the most accessible game, because any game can be the most accessible game if it's coded with that in mind, essentially, and even also developed with that in mind. If you want to get more insight to this, I highly recommend following like Easy Allies and listening to like podcasts and other content they put out, because they are the kind of foremost authority on this, I would say, on kind of a wide basis, and they will be most insightful and will honestly give you like the most information about this kind of stuff, because it's something that they're paying attention to constantly, because they have a lot of folks that have disabilities that work for their platform that very much care about this stuff because they want to be able to play video games as well. But apparently the industry is a lot further along than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah, honestly, it does seem like it is. I think a key point in making games more accessible is just having representation within the dev teams and making sure that people are working with the these different communities to make sure that their games are accessible to as many people as possible. But yeah, baseline, just fucking like, I am an able-bodied person and I wear lenses on my face so that I can see, and that's the worst thing I have to deal with, right? But like, I want all games to allow me to remap the controls, because sometimes I'll be playing a game and I will find the control scheme fucking annoying and it won't let me change it. Like, let me map my controls, because it's not just going to help picky assholes like me, but it will help people at large be able to enjoy the game.
Johnny asks, did you know that Evo was this weekend? Not until Johnny had said something this weekend did I know that Evo was this weekend. And apparently Punk rage quit in the grand finals, which is interesting. A little sad to see. Like I said, a little unfortunate that he struggled again for like the third year consecutive, basically. But a rage quit in the final round is not a great look, I would say. He's still a young guy, though. He's still a young guy.
There's no excuse for that shit.
Yeah, just kind of finish it out. I mean, I guess that's better. I don't think he would have done that if it was in person. Like, Evo was exclusively online this year.
Yeah.
I don't think he does that if he's on stage. I really don't. Because it makes you look.
It makes you look like a tiny little baby. Yeah, that's what it makes you look like.
So I'll have to check out that video when we get a chance. He also asks another wrestling question. How are you liking the struggle, Baron Corbin? Is this a rib on the 87 employees that they fired this year? So Baron Corbin's new character. So he was King Corbin for a while because he won the King of the Ring tournament like 2 years ago. So he wore like a crown, carried around a scepter, like had this like regal music, all that jazz.
Wow.
So he lost his crown in a match against Shinsuke Nakamura. So Shinsuke Nakamura is now the king of SmackDown, which is fine because his nickname, one of his nicknames is the King of Strong Style, like it always has been. So him having a crown is perfectly appropriate. Where they've gone with Baron Corbin is they made him like this sad sack character now, where like he's like, he was bald for a while because he was seriously balding on his hair. So he's growing his hair back out, but it looks, of course, awful because he has a huge bald patch on top of his head. He's wearing like a shit beard. He's wearing like the same set of clothes every week, and there's like a tomato sauce stain on the front. But it's funny because they're like making him a sad sack. He's like, they repossessed my house and I've lost all my money and my wife left me with my kids. And like he's engendering sympathy from like the babyface characters. And they're finally like, all right, I'll give you some money to help you get back on your feet. Like, how much do you need to be able to, you know, get back on your feet for a week? And then he'll be like, $100,000. Like he'll say something insane because he's still playing like a dickhead character. Right. And then he gets his ass kicked. I don't really know where they're going with this character. I would hope that they wouldn't be insensitive enough to poke fun at the people that they just kind of escorted out the door over the last several months. But then again, it's Vince McMahon, and there's a lot of things that he thinks is funny that aren't funny to the general public at large. So who could say anything's possible with Vince McMahon. We'll finish up with Gully, who has a dictionary definition that they start their question with. Poop socking is a verb from the root poop sock. The practice of defecating into an article of clothing in lieu of leaving a task to use a traditional toilet, almost exclusively used in relation to video gaming. What was the last game you poop socked or played for an absurdly long time in a single sitting? And what is your all-time poop sock record? No one should not.
No, don't do that. If you've done this,
yeah,
I'm going to ban you from the Discord. Like, if you shit into a sock instead of getting up to use the bathroom so that you can keep playing a video game, I am banning you from the Discord. Absolutely.
This is the kind of shit that gets kids killed in South Korea. Like this is the kind of stuff that people are like sitting in front of a computer in an internet cafe for, 37 hours in a row.
Yeah.
That die right there, basically, at the internet cafe. Don't do that. Now, that being said, Mass Effect was easily the game that I played for an absurdly long time in a single sitting. When I first got the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I'm pretty sure I put in like 10 hours into Mass Effect 1 the first day that I played, that first Saturday.
Yeah, so like, are we calling a single sitting just like doing nothing else besides eating and using the toilet? Or are we calling a single sitting not getting up at all?
I'm calling it like still with food and toilet breaks.
Okay, because we're reasonable adults, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I've had a few games where I think I've done like 9 or 10 hour stretches all at once. Like I know I did it with Skyrim. Without a doubt, I did it with Skyrim. I mean, I've done it on stream. I did Golden Sun, the complete game in a single sitting in about 12 hours for Extra Life. More than once now I've done that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's all you're gonna do with your days, play video games. But like also like you should fucking go to the bathroom and wipe your ass like a reasonable adult, please.
This is why it's a shame that Micah's not in this week. I don't think that Micah's ever poop socked, but I would not put it past Micah to have peed into an empty like bottle sitting down playing video games. Not like Micah in the past 10 years, but Micah when he was single and living alone. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that at least one time.
Yeah.
He can confirm next week when he's
I'm sure
on the show.
Cool.
That's it. That's the show this week. A light show this week. Thank you guys for submitting your questions, which you can do on the Dense Pixels Discord at densepixels.com/fans. We take post office questions all week. We answer them here on the show as we do every single week, almost every single week. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well at youtube.com/densepixels, and follow us all on Twitch. I'm Dense Pixels Brad, Terrence is Apparition 410, and Carrie is Suffix Carrie. Yep. Anything else to plug?
A couple things actually. So first off, on the topic of playing games for a long time, I am doing Extra Life again this year. I have my page set up
soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up November, so I'll be doing it November 7th, which is a Sunday. So I'm gonna be playing Fallout New Vegas. And I've got all sorts of incentives. If you donate $25, you can tell me how to spend a special point. If you donate $50, you can force me to sing a Radio New Vegas song on stream. If you pick Johnny Guitar, I'm going to be very cross with you, but I will do it.
I feel like you're asking people to pick this song.
I really don't like Johnny Guitar. I think Johnny Guitar is universally considered the worst song on Radio New Vegas. There's so many better songs.
Now the question is, are you going to sing it along like to the tune in the game, or are you just going to sing an acapella? Okay.
Yes. With as they come on the radio, I will sing them. I got levels. If we hit 250, so my goal this year is 1,000. This is the highest goal that I've had. So at $250, I will sabotage the rockets in the come fly with me mission and not send the ghouls into space. At $500, you can see me take Boone to go kill Caesar, since that's what he really, really wants to do. And I think we should make all of Boone's streams come true. At $750, I'll pause the Fallout stream sometime and we'll do some Monster Hunter nonsense at some point. And then at $1,000, I will make time to do all of the DLC for Fallout New Vegas. So please do that. I'll drop the link in Discord, I'm sure, several times. And then on top of that, because I don't have enough extracurriculars in my life, I have a band. We're called Quick Save. It's the same group of dudes that did stuff for the digital BGSO concerts over the last year. We were like, hey, guess what? We sound really good. What if we kept doing this? So we're doing it. Yeah, you can find us at facebook.com/quicksaveband. And we actually have a gig lined up end of next month. If you're in the Maryland area, you can come up to Westminster, Maryland for the inaugural Good Game Fest. We will be doing sets throughout the day on Saturday at Good Game Fest.
And where's that in Westminster?
That's at the mall.
Oh boy, Town Mall.
Good old at the Town Mall, which has like 6 stores left. So they're going to turn it into a big arcade, basically.
Is one of those stores still GameStop? I think it is.
I think it might be. We'll see. So yeah, come out to Good Game Fest. That is September 24th through 26th. Single day tickets are just $20, and you can come see us play some cool video game music. There's gonna be a ton of like gaming tournaments and arcade stuff set up and cosplay, and it should be a good time. Like, I'm very interested to see how a video game convention inside a very, very dead but still operational mall is going to work. But yeah, it should be really cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys out there very much for watching and listening, and we'll see you all the next time.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.